Hello everyone, I'm Jacosaurus, and in this video I will be talking about my favorite Gen 1 Pokedex entries. The entries on this list vary from being, oh that's a really cool fact, to, oh my goodness, what did I just read? Before I read out the entries though, I want you to know that I will be reading them in the Pokedex order in the red, blue, and yellow games, and that the number at the top right of the screen will tell you what number a Pokemon is if you ever want to check it out. I plan on doing this for every generation because reading these entries never seems to bore me. Anyway, let's move on to the entries. Starting off with Ivysaur. Ivysaur's yellow entry says, the bulb on its back grows by drawing energy. It gives off an aroma when it is ready to bloom. I think this is a really cool fact about Ivysaur. I picture myself laying in a field of flowers on a sunny summer day, just taking in the nice smell of an Ivysaur's flowers. I also think that it's cool that whenever Ivysaur gives off this aroma, it means it's ready to evolve. Next up is Charizard. Charizard's red and blue entry says, spits fire that is hot enough to melt boulders. Known to cause forest fires unintentionally. What? Melt boulders? Causing forest fires is one thing, but melting boulders is unbelievable. According to Google, rocks can melt from 1,100 to 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, 600 to 1,300 Celsius, which is literally in the temperature range of lava. And this guy's spitting it from his mouth. Moving on to Metapod. Metapod's yellow entry says, hardens its shell to protect itself. However, a large impact may cause it to pop out of its shell. Pop out of its shell? What? Does it pop out as a caterpie, a butterfree? What would it look like? The next entry is Pidgeot. I think both Pidgeot's red and blue entry as well as its yellow entry are worth noting. For Pidgeot's red and blue entry, it says, when hunting, it skims the surface of water at high speed to pick off unwary prey such as Magikarp. Now this entry just confirms that Pokemon eat each other. I know there are other entries that say this Pokemon hunts this other Pokemon, but this is the first ever entry to mention how Pokemon hunt other species of Pokemon. For Pidgeot's yellow entry, it says, this Pokemon flies at Mach 2 speed, seeking prey. Its large talons are feared as wicked weapons. Mach 2 speed! Keep in mind that this is 2 times the speed of sound. I cannot picture in my brain a bird flying that fast. Next up is Raticate. Raticate's yellow entry says, its hind feet are webbed. They act as flippers so it can swim in rivers and hunt for prey. I'm sorry, but Raticate, this thing swims in rivers and hunts for prey? How can he swim? It doesn't even have arms. On to Raichu. Raichu's yellow entry says, when electricity builds up inside its body, it becomes feisty. It also glows in the dark. This entry is honestly really cool. I never thought that Raichu could glow in the dark when it's storing electricity, and honestly this made me like Raichu more. Now Ninetales. Ninetales' red and blue entry says, very smart and very vengeful. Grabbing one of its tails could result in a 1,000-year curse. A 1,000-year curse? That is absolutely terrifying. What would this curse do to you, and why is it 1,000 years? Humans can't even live that long. Next is Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff's yellow entry says, its body is full of elasticity. By inhaling deeply, it can continue to inflate itself without limit. I wonder how big Wigglytuff can actually get, because it has a huge tummy. By inhaling that much, it would be hilarious if it could get to the size of like a really tall skyscraper. Dugtrio's yellow entry says, a team of triplets that can burrow over 60 miles per hour. Due to this, some people think it's an earthquake. Honestly, this is just impressive. Moving at 60 miles per hour is one thing, but going fast enough to make people think an earthquake is happening? Dang. I would also love to see them dig at that speed, because it'll be extremely funny seeing 3 little dudes zooming past you. Psyduck's yellow entry says, always tormented by headaches. It uses psychic powers, but is not known if it intends to do so. This entry is pretty funny. It's basically saying that people don't realize when Psyduck is using his psychic powers, but Psyduck is trying to convince them that he is. Also, I think it's strange that nearly every Pokedex entry involving Psyduck says how it can use its psychic powers or its mysterious power, while neither Psyduck or Golduck are psychic types. Next up is Arcanine. Arcanine's yellow entry says, a legendary Pokemon in China. Many people are charmed by its grace and beauty while running. It's always cool when Pokedex entries mention places that are in the real world instead of other regions. I know that this is the first generation to come out, so there weren't any other regions except for Kanto, but I still like how these older entries in dialogue mention real-world places. Another thing I want to mention is the use of legendary. Some of you may be thinking, why do they classify Arcanine as a legendary Pokemon? Well, I think that in the context of Arcanine being a legendary Pokemon in China, either meant that it's considered a legendary Pokemon in China, or that they are referencing Arcanine's species name being legendary Pokemon. I know there's also a scene in the anime where Ash looks at a picture of the legendary birds, and Arcanine is there as well. But the anime isn't very accurate of how Pokemon actually works, because Ash's Pikachu literally hit Brock's Geodude with an electric type attack. Alakazam's entry is next up. Its red and blue entry says, its brain can outperform a supercomputer. Its intelligence quotient is said to be 5,000. 5,000 IQ? That is pretty wild. I know many other entries talk about this, but it's still insane how this one Pokemon is smarter than everything on Earth. Next is Machoke. Machoke's yellow entry says, the belt around its waist holds back its energy. Without it, this Pokemon would be unstoppable. I wonder what Machoke's strength would be like if he didn't have the belt on. Wait, why doesn't he just take it off? Wait, no! Machamp's yellow entry says, one arm alone can move mountains. Using all 4 arms, this Pokemon fires off awesome punches. Wait a minute, move mountains? What? How can one singular arm of this one Pokemon move a whole mountain? What I like about this entry is that it talks about how strong one arm is, but then when it moves all 4 of them, it just says that its punches are cool. Like, this guy could probably lift the whole planet if he had enough protein. Moving on to Victreebel. Victreebel's red and blue entry states, said to live in huge colonies deep in jungles, although no one has ever returned from there. This entry just gives me creepy vibes toward this Pokemon. Like, what happened to the people who entered the jungle? Why did they never come out? Well, fortunately, or unfortunately for you will see in a second, we got the answer. The yellow entry of Victreebel says, lures prey with the sweet aroma of honey. Swallowed whole, the prey is melted in a day, bones and all. This game was suitable for children, by the way, but oh my goodness, what did I just read? Tentacruel's yellow entry says, its 80 tentacles can stretch and contract freely. They wrap around prey and weaken it with poison. 80 tentacles? Where did the other 70 come from? This entry is kind of funny, because like this one, nearly every single entry about Tentacruel talks about how it has 80 tentacles. Like, I'm not even joking. Look at this. We got yellow, gold, crystal, sapphire, fire red, and so on. Slowbro's yellow entry says, lives lazily by the sea. If the shelter on its tail comes off, it becomes a slowpoke again. This entry is actually quite interesting to me, because how would it return to a normal Slowpoke, and how would the weird Shelder-looking thing on its tail return to a normal Shelder? Would the Slowbro just get smaller and go on all 4s? And what the heck would this thing do? Haunter's yellow entry says, by licking, it saps the victim's life. It causes shaking that won't stop until the victim's demise. Man, these yellow entries, they're very crazy. I swear the Pokemon Company wanted us to be scared of all these Pokemon. Drowsy's red and blue entry says, puts enemies to sleep, then eats their dreams. Occasionally gets sick from eating bad dreams. This is a peak entry. Scary, yet very funny. I like how intimidating it is at first with puts enemies to sleep, then eats their dreams, but becoming sick from eating bad dreams is pretty hilarious. Next up is Magikarp. Magikarp's red and blue entry says, in the distant past, it was somewhat stronger than the horribly weak descendants that exist today. I wonder how much stronger it was. All the entries that talk about the past versions of older versions of themselves make me want a game that is purely in the prehistoric or medieval times, or something like that. I know we got Legends Arceus, and if you want to count Pokemon Scarlet, but Legends Arceus is only like 100-200 years before the current timeline of the games. The final entry on my list is Dratini. Dratini's yellow entry says, the existence of this mythical Pokemon was only recently confirmed by a fisherman who caught one. Recently confirmed? Lance has 2 Dragonairs and a Dragonite on his Gen 1 team. He probably could have lended one to a nursery for a few days, right? Anyway, these are my favorite Gen 1 entries. I plan on doing this for every generation, so stay tuned. This video took a while though, so maybe a little bit before the next ones come out. If you liked the video, leave a comment. I'll make sure to respond to it. And anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.